Thank you for tuning in to this TransurfingTV production. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already, and please like this video. So with that, I will get into today's lesson 11 as structured by reprogramming. So in this slide, what is trying to relay to us is that the film reel or film roll moves in a specific direction, either based on your passive attitude or your active attitude. So a passive attitude would be you just sort of going with what has already been set into motion. So this would be you following a daily routine or you doing something every day that sort of matches each day as each day passes. Or there is the active attitude, which can break the movement. Here she says, taken out of the sequencing. Okay, so there's a sequence that's following a passive attitude, and then when you use your active attitude or work against the traditional programming as you have set it up, then you are taking yourself out of the sequence of quote-unquote normal events. So what else she's saying here is that this happens through daily mundane practice. I like to say systematic, methodical, and habitual practice. So it's actually really, really simple to create your own reality. It's much more simple than we are led to believe. All you need to do is work in the opposite direction of the passive attitude with an active attitude and add new movements, new thoughts, new ideas, a new set of strategic plans that will take you out of the sequence of the fixed script, how it has been set up. It's actually very, very easy and anyone can do it, but it must be an active attitude as opposed to a passive one, which again is in line with programming, how we've been programmed, how we've programmed ourselves, how our environment has programmed us, how others have programmed us, and start taking a more active role against the fixed script. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and please tune into the next one, transformation. Transformation. So this is actually the first time that I've looked at this slide, so I will be really just winging it of what I'm reading and seeing here, and hopefully this makes sense to everyone. So looks like she is talking about the difference between effort and concentration, or working from your inner screen or working from your center. So an inner screen place of action is you being tense, you being overly focused, you being somewhat lost in your mind, working with inner intention. Maybe you are trying to force something a little too hard, or you're working in a place where when you complete your work, you're feeling exhausted or depleted. Now, working from your center place, that center of awareness, your concentration should feel calm and comfortable, as if it is irrelevant, right? As if you're just sort of doing something that feels really good and you don't need to overthink it. So what else she is saying here? You are simultaneously the film projector and the viewer. You project the frame from behind and watch the film playing out in front as if neither had anything to do with you. Okay, so again, this is the difference between taking something way too seriously and sort of going into an automatic mode where you just fulfill the tasks at hand without loading them up with a bunch of importance. That's what I'm doing right now in reading this lesson. I don't have a lot of importance on it. I know that if I complete these lessons and this entire project, that this will affect that future frame of my goal. So I simply move through the motions of doing what it is that I know I need to do that are in line with my intentions. It comes very easy. It's effortless movement, and I don't have a lot of importance on it. This allows me the ability to really be effective in my time doing this. I don't mess up a lot with my words or with my movements because I'm not inviting in balancing forces because of excess potential and creating an imbalance energetically in my environment. So me working in my center screen feels very, very natural. When I'm working from my inner screen, it feels unnatural and forced. And it's interesting that she uses the word transformation here to describe this slide because this is true transformation. Working from your inner screen is you not transforming. It's you trying to force a square peg into a round hole, essentially. You working from your center screen is you transforming into that ultimate future frame. So I hope this helped. And the next one, meta power, looks like an interesting one. So please stay tuned. Hey, 13, meta power. I'm actually learning a lot from doing these recordings because I'm looking at Eum's perspective of these concepts from my own perspective, which has been different. So I'm actually learning quite a bit in just looking at a visual representation of something in a different direction than where my mind has gone with these concepts, if that makes sense. And what I'm seeing here is really the difference between taking action in the material world versus taking action in the virtual world. And in the top here, she says, physical force works in physical reality. Meta power works inside the mere glass. So how I actually interpret this, what Eum is depicting here, is that just as we went over in the previous slide, the difference between working from your inner screen and then working in your center place of awareness, that you can work using physical force and willpower to try to affect the current frame, which ultimately reflects back to you your presentation to it. So this is you striving. This is you overexerting yourself. This is you putting a lot of effort and loaded up importance into your movements. Again, willpower, ego, all that kind of stuff to create an image in the mirror. And then on the other side of that, what Eum has depicted is working from a different place, your meta power place. This is you using tools like your plate. This is you projecting material or playing slides like your future frame and projecting that material up onto your current frame in a way where you're not having to force anything. So she says here, how to exercise for developing meta power, the frame illumination method. So what the frame illumination method is it's you sort of illuminating this future frame that you ultimately want to see come into reality. And you're doing this by playing your slide and activating your plate and using your meta power rather than your physical force. So again, this is very much like the previous lesson. There is a different place that you can work from as a transurfer. This is you harvesting outer intention or frailing or playing your slide or activating your plate and being more effective and using less energy when projecting your image to the mirror. So you can do this in a real material sense, which would be you, quote unquote, working hard, or you could do this in a virtual sense, which is you harvesting and utilizing what meta power will ultimately help you to achieve in an easier manner. So with that, I will end this one. The next one, 14, imitating action. Stay tuned. With that, 14, imitating action. This is really one of my top keys for creating reality. I have done this a number of times with all sorts of different things. Things that I've wanted to become or things that I've wanted to do or have. I simply start imitating. And with imitating comes outer intention showing me more ways or providing me with more opportunity that I can imitate and ultimately affect or match up to that future frame, which is my ultimate intention. So Eum says here, you don't have the right to disrupt established order, but you can choose an upcoming frame. So this is pretty fascinating stuff because if you think about it, okay, let's break this down. You don't have the right to disrupt established order. So the order that is in your present moment, the reason that this is the way that it is right now is because of your actions in your previous frames. So if you want to see a different reality in your present moment, then you need to start acting now to affect that future moment once it becomes present, if that makes sense. So here she says, moving according to script versus ability to replace the film role. And then the center there is imitate in the waking state of consciousness, okay? So again, going back to the previous lessons, you can either go with what has been consistent for you, right? The program, the normal script as it has been set up by you. And then you can acquire the ability to replace the film role if you can imitate a new movement, a new path that is really you creating a new script. So I'll actually go into this a little bit more in the next lesson, but let's just talk about imitating briefly here as I wrap this up. Imitating is simply you choosing a new upcoming frame. If you just stay in your normal mode, your upcoming frame is going to look the same as it is now. If you choose a new movement, a new action, and you imitate a new role, that future frame will in fact look different. But you have to remember that the mirror does not respond in our time frame. So you don't get to decide on the time frame that will happen. But if you continuously act or imitate in the direction of a new role, that future frame will eventually line up with your current reality, confirming that you are in fact what you have been imitating to be. So stay tuned for the next one, being present.